Hello, I'm live. This big thing comes up and it goes, you're live. Composition has breadth with this time. Or your commission has breadth with this time. I just saw your comment there. Hey everybody, hope you're all doing marvelously well. It is, wow, it is 11 a.m. Greetings. So give me 1 second, I'm going to open the YouTube. Remember that in The Office? Where he goes, is the YouTube here? 2 days in a row. Yes, we're trying to do these as often as possible. It's, you know, I know that it's a big deal to actually interact properly with the audience. And to be honest, so many of you are so amazing to us that I love being able to answer these questions. Hello there in Buffalo. Hello in Gibraltar. Beautiful. Present. Hello, Alec. Hello, Frankie. Greetings from Norway. Sweden. Wow, Charleston. Like and share. Thank you, nothing. No, it's not 11 a.m. No, it's definitely not 11 a.m. in Finland. By the way, we went to Glasgow. You know, I'm a huge Scottish fan. I got Scottish family and Irish family. I think I'm properly English, isn't it? Aren't you really English when pretty much you're actually Scottish and Irish, but born in England? I think that's the definition of English. No. Anyway, give me 1 second. Reason why is because I'm opening up my laptop here, and I am going to go to the Q&A. Hello, everybody. Q&A. Oh, me talking. All right. How are you all? Too high. You're too high, Paul. Oh, in the mixer there. You were in Glasgow? I've been to Glasgow hundreds of times. Not recently, but hundreds of times. I mean, when I was in bands, I played at King Tut's Wah Wah Club. King Tut's maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Hello in Syria. Yeah, I mean, yeah. India, Northern Ireland, Germany, Cologne, Pittsburgh. But yes, no, I've been to Glasgow a lot of times. We never played Barrowlands, but I did play King Tut's. I'd love to have played Barrowlands. Good evening from wet London. Yes, I'm sure it's very rainy and wet. Taiwan, the Netherlands, Houston, West Virginia, Rome. Yeah, somebody says, Nate said, did you decide that doing vocal tips was too hard live because everyone was asking random questions? I mean, that's really what ends up happening is that, you know, we've all got 100 questions and everybody's questions are as important as each other. And so we do end up going a little random. So yes, you're right. Production tips is a little bit more of a generic overview of everything. Wisconsin, hello, Wisconsin. Hello, Belgium. Mourning the loss of your left monitor. Guadalajara, Mexico. Atlanta. Hello, Ian. I appreciate it. St. Louis. Hello, Emilio. Thank you, Nate. Salisbury. Oh, I love Salisbury. Hello, Academy members. Who was greeting the Academy members? Brazil, Jamaica, Argentina. Not so sleepy Salisbury. Right. Toronto, mourning the loss of my left monitor. Oh, yes. Who was saying hello? Yes, everybody that's make my flat top sound like musical history. I'm sure you can. Small diaphragm mic the bottom part of it. Okay, so what does the new 1173 pre-compressor go for? I think it's 1200, but I don't know what that is around the world. So it's basically a 1073 and an 1176. When Eric deems it possible for him to be here, he will add those links for you. These live streams always make me so happy. Well, thank you ever so much. I am doing marvelously well, Junior. Tips for producing rock vocals. Hey, Brad. Tips for producing rock vocals. Well, interesting. Now, Brad, you're a vocal coach, aren't you? So I've had, this is a good one because I've had lots of experiences with vocal coaches, with vocal production. As you know from my resume, and I'm sorry, it's not name dropping, it's just my resume. I've been blessed to work with incredible singers, whether it be softer stuff like The Fray, James Blunt, Howie Day, Augustana, and then the more rock singers like Steven Tyler, etc. So I've had this broad kind of, and I also did the live Black Veil Brides record, so I got, that side of it as well, more modern rock. So I've worked, and then bands that you haven't heard of that also are amazing, but like obviously the Matthews were about to do their album. Their singer Jack is one of the greatest rock singers I've ever worked with. So I've been blessed to work with lots of different artists, lots of different singers. So it's a good question. With rock vocals, one of the biggest mistakes that I have seen is people over warming up. And one of the worst things that's ever happened is when I bring a vocal coach in and they take the singer past the point, they open up the top and they lose all the warmth in the vocal. So, and that was with a really, really famous vocal coach. And I won't say who it is. It's not the guy I usually use, but it's one of the most famous guys. He came in with a singer and he warmed him up and actually lost all of the warmth. He extended his high end, but I had absolutely nothing left for the verses. So understanding the human voice when you're recording vocals is really, really important. There is no one size fits all. You need to know your singer inside and out. And one of the most important things is to know what are you going for. Now, we talked about this before. My friend Mike was in John Mellencamp's band, and he said that John would record all of his vocals in the morning. In the morning, he'd get up because that little ditty about Jack and Diane, that warmth, that sound of his vocal is there in the morning. As he speaks and he goes through the day, he loses the warmth. So, know your artist, know how they sing, know what you're trying to get. There is no one size fits all. There's no magic warm-up exercise. Now, if somebody tells you that, that's not true, because I've seen it all. Or somebody's talking about their vocal coach here. So this is a great topic for at least a few minutes. So, knowing that, performance is king. Performance is king. So that beats everything. And with the tools we have, if you get the most emotional, incredible performance and you have to tune 2 notes, do it. I don't care. I don't want to have a fight here about, auto-tune. I don't care. If this guy or girl came in and just gave you this incredible vocal and it was just like making you cry your eyes out, but you were just bothered by this one note that went, that is what, Brad's saying passion over perfection. Yes, absolutely. So the biggest job of a producer, engineer, either, is to capture performances. So when you're working with singers, you need to make them feel comfortable with you and you need to capture it. There is not all about, the right EQ, the right compression, the right whatever. It's about 99% of the time, especially with singers, your number one job is to not screw it up. Number one. Dave Jerden said that to me years ago. He said, and I know I've said this before, so just want to remind you of this. It's a very, 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 very important thing. Dave said to me, he said, sometimes, Warren, you've got to get in there. You've got to rewrite the song. Sometimes you've got to change the tempo. Sometimes you've got to change the key. Sometimes you've got to completely pull it apart and just rewrite it so it's a totally different genre. Sometimes you have to change the lyrics. Sometimes you have to change the melody. Sometimes you have to change everything about it. And other times you've just got to get out of the way of the artist and just capture a good performance. The point is that you need to have a skill set where you can do everything, where you know how to capture an incredible performance and know when to step in and change things. Another thing Dave said is he pointed towards a console and he said, anybody can twist a knob. Anybody can open up a plug-in and boost and cut frequencies. Any of us can do that. And you can watch all of the new YouTube guys, copying all the videos, talking about boost and cutting and making these really professional looking videos because they've watched everybody else's videos. But the reality is they're not teaching you what music is about. Music is about, as Brad was saying, is about passion. Nobody buys your record because you boosted 60 hertz on a kick and pulled out 350. They just don't. But it's easy to teach that. It's easy to say. you know, do a really slick video of like, and a graphic comes up. You know, it's easy to do that stuff. But the difference, and I speak from a perspective of not only as a producer, but also of done A&R for labels, they don't listen to music like that. They don't listen to it. There's too much. You need to know the technical, but the technical is something that you have to have ingrained in you. You have to understand the most technical thing. This is why I'm a big fan of Rick Beato. Go and watch his channel because he focuses on the music, and he does occasionally does like a little production stuff. But you know why he does it like that? Because there's a very, very good balance between what is really, really important. He has 98, 99% musicality, creativity, and then one video out of every 50, he does a little production tip. And that is an amazingly good balance. So, frankly, being completely selfish, totally selfish and self-centered here, balance the two. If you're learning, come to me for technical, with feel, look at Rick for some of the musicality, but that's the reason why I think his channel's doing so well, and why everybody was going, oh wow, I can't believe that, you know, and I was surprised. I was like, here's a guy with high level musicality with a massively successful channel. And it's surprising that I have a successful channel where it's all just about production, and I'm not doing like, hey guys, here's how you EQ a kick drum this week. You know, so it's very, you know what I mean? That's what's really good. It's about Guten Tag. Guten Tag from California. Do you mean Guten Tag from, well, it's actually Guten Morgen, if you want to be actually literal. It's Guten Morgen. It is 12 minutes past 11 here in California. Anyway, so that's my little, I don't know what it was. You know, it's all about balancing that stuff. So back to the vocal thing. We'll get back on a topic. Yes, you need to understand your singer, and there's no one size fits all. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Guten Abend. So basically what I'm saying, and it is really, really important, is that it's about capturing performances. So look, in the academy at the moment, the guys on their own, I'll talk about that in a second, Alex. I'll tell you what my typical vocal train is. So at the moment in the academy, no, it's not a distressor. I'll tell you in a minute, Alex. So basically in the academy, the guys in there had a self-imposed only use stock plugins. I didn't ask them to only mix with stock plugins. They did it. The guys and girls. There's plenty of girls in the way. I'm sorry, I can't say it. Guten Abend. Deutschland ist hier. Yeah. So what they did is they only used stock plugins. So we're talking about Cubase, Reaper, Studio One. There's a couple of guys on Ableton, you know, and they did that themselves. So these Academy members did it themselves. Yeah, Mark's talking about it here. And the reality is like, do you remember, which video was it? There's been a few, but definitely Auric Wild and some of the courses I've done with Auric as well. But, oh, I'm completely blanking. There's a couple of guys. Well, yes, but what I'm talking about here, I saw that, yes, there's definitely people like Jake, and yes, definitely who do the stock plugins thing. But I'm going to tell you there's some professionals, you know, not the teachers, but actual professionals that use stock plugins only. I mean, I fight for the Avid plate reverb. Most of my friends use the Avid plate reverb. You know, Mark's saying the Ableton Glue Comp is great. This is a great place actually for you to share some of your plugins that are stock. You know, let us know. Sweaty Spaghetti says, I've sent, great name, sent singers home and said, do your homework and learn the song inside out. They all hated my guts, came back and nailed it and understood why I put my foot down. Sometimes you have to be, yeah, I agree. I mean, that is a reality. You know, you want, sometimes you have to do it. And it's really, really important that Did they bring the performance? But sometimes, let's be honest, we have to read the situation. And I totally understand what you're saying, and you made a good point there. If they don't know the song at all, go away and learn it. But sometimes, remember, it does depend on the situation. Think of, when I was talking about my old engineer, Phil, when he recorded Someone Like You but with Adele, that was the demo, not just the demo, it was as they were recording. So Dan Wilson was at the piano, Adele was in the vocal booth, and they were essentially finishing up the song. And then they did take a few minutes to cut the song. There's a little bit of a tempo map. If you go and listen to it, it's not at one tempo. So the reality is that is the one time that they wrote the song and recorded it all in the same day. Now, granted, Adele had a big chunk of the song done, and then what happened is, they finished it up there and recorded it. But the point is like sometimes they don't necessarily have to go back and like tweak it and get so in a song and get everything absolutely in time and perfectly in tune. Sometimes it's just about capturing the moment. And when you've just written a song, especially a song like Someone Like You, and if you know the Adele story, she had a boyfriend, they were together for a serious period of time, and then when they broke up, he went off and met somebody else and got engaged and married like that. So imagine what that felt like. Can you imagine what that felt like to have, this person you're in love with just be together for a while and then break up with you and then find somebody else immediately and get married? It's pretty heartbreaking. So instead of her writing like a typical Alanis Morissette song of like, F you, blah, 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 be really, really aggressive and angry and, riot girl about it, instead of being that, she was honest. Do you know what it feels like to be heartbroken, where you think to yourself, I love that person and I want somebody else like that. So it spoke to so many people on many levels. So it spoke to people because the lyrics were incredible. I want someone else like you. I loved you, I want someone else like you. But also it had that performance of being captured on the day when the song was finished being written. So that sometimes is more important than being absolutely perfectly in tune and perfectly in time. So basically what Phil told me they did is they did 3 takes and then they comped the 3 takes together. Now bear in mind, and it was like a verse, a chorus, a bridge. There wasn't like word by word. It was just like taking chunks of it and putting it together. So anyway, it's that kind of reality. I think that, I think that we have to always balance this out. We have to understand that we live in a wonderful world where we can do anything now. We can take our laptops that this is sitting on or iPads, iPhones, and just record great things. So just the secret of an engineer and a great producer is being available to capture things at all times. Okay, so Gary, I loved having that conversation about vocals and stuff like that because it is important. We talk about the warming up and the this and the that, but there's more to it. Yeah, that Making Records book is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so Mark's saying, for the younger generations, how do we best create a comfortable, creative environment in a modern studio? All DO jobbers can do a great job. How do we help the artists? Well, I mean, the environment can be pretty basic. I mean, you can go to, here, this is obviously converted into a decent kind of studio, but I think it is more about personality. It's more about how you interact with your artist than it is anything else. I think make it presentable, make it professional. It is tough because when you have literally just got a laptop and a pair of like little monitors and a single like 1 or 2 input, when you've got that very, very simple kind of thing, it can be a little underwhelming when a singer like walks in like, oh yeah, I'm going to do some vocals, and they see a $300 microphone. You know, I get it. I understand what you're all saying. You know, you're talking about a situation where you think, well, how, Warren, you've got an SSL console and a U47 and a LCT 940 and all these nice pieces of equipment. I get it. There's a certain expectation when I'm working with some of the bigger artists that they see some of this gear. I've just finished or finishing Ace Frehley's record at the moment, and Ace loves that there's a console here. I know he does. However, I'm just telling you, I've made records and recorded them in all different environments. This is where I've ended up after years and years of doing this. My first studio, of course, was a 4-track. My second studio was an 8-track, still cassette. It was a 488, or no, 688, or was it an 888? I can't remember. Anyway, so the next one was an 8-track cassette. Then, somebody's saying Scorpion. Then I moved up to, actually got to work in a studio with a Tascam MSR 24. And I think Eric's standing outside, terrified to come in because he's late. I just saw a shadow of somebody. Maybe he's watching this on a cell phone because you can get Wi-Fi outside going, oh, I should have been in there. But anyway, there's some good questions there about moving away from England. I'll get to that in a second. Interesting. Did I move away because of that? So I did get to work in a studio that these two sets of brothers have. My friend Patch, who was here the other day, and the Jameson brothers. And they, for a brief time I worked there, and they had a 1-inch MSR 24. And even though I was only there for a brief time, it was a big learning experience. When I moved here, now somebody's asking me, did I move here because the music industry is better? Well, during the 90s, it was definitely, Toby's saying Eric's checking his hair, probably is. Paul says his hair rocks. Yeah, he's probably got a mirror out there, or he's turned around the iPhone and he's like, he's doing this, making sure it looks good. Anyway, so getting back, I should learn, yeah. Oh, somebody says, Sweaty says we need to do an intern for a week giveaway. Getting back to the point, I think that, so then I ended up on ADATs in the mid-90s, and I had a home studio with one ADAT initially and a small console. Then I got a Topaz, a Soundtrax Topaz, which was a great console. And I expanded, I got a second ADAT. And that was great. That was like huge for me. Then I ended up getting, you guessed it, Pro Tools. And when I had the Pro Tools, I had a TAC Scorpion. That's the inexpensive AMEC consoles. So, you know, that comes for about, I've seen them from anywhere from $750 to $1,500. So, you get my point. If you really, really want a feel of a console and you want that sort of like to impress your artist, we're not talking a huge amount of money. You know, depending on like an 8 input is going to give you most, an IO is going to give you most situations. You should be able to record a drum kit really, really well. Kick, snare top, snare bottom, hi-hat, tom, overhead, 8. You can add room and ambience afterwards. I don't. I add it afterwards. There's no room mic. Sometimes we use the vocal mic. That is exactly my setup I just told you there. I have a kick, one kick mic, snare top, snare bottom, hi-hat, one hi-hat mic, 2 overheads. We're at 6. Tom. That's it. I use 8 mics on my drum kit in there. And I make records. And some of you have bought them. So the point is like, you can do it with 8 inputs. 8. So, do I play an instrument? Yes, I do. I play drums, guitar, bass, keyboards, and anything with strings. So basically, you get it. And most of the time, I'm not tracking live because, I mean, it's a decent sized room, but it's basically a garage size. So, yeah, technical difficulties. We're back. We're big. We're bad. We're back. I feel like yeah, just a little Yeah, I'm not an expert in audio. Got your, I can't pronounce your name properly. I'm sorry. Um, can you go back to the England and America thing? Yes, we've talked about this before. First of all, I'm going to answer. Yes, live is always kind of a bit of a problem. We have a Spectrum, Time Warner, and you know, I pay for super fast, and they're completely unreliable up here. It's just the way it is. You know, and then they wanted me to, and it's really expensive, really expensive. Yeah, it doesn't matter about live stream cameras. It's got nothing to do with that. It's to do with the fact that in Los Angeles, it's really difficult to get fast internet. And, you know, you guys can tell me that you do, but I'm just telling you, I go from studio to studio to studio, and everybody complains about the same thing. It's really difficult. The way that the system works over here is not very healthy. There's no real competition. You know, we pretend there is, but there isn't, because only certain people. Yeah, see, nothing's nothing. 300 megabyte. That's what I'm supposed to. That's what it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to have 100, 300. That's what they claim, and this is 100, 300. And because it's cable and it's the only thing you can get up in the hills, because AT&T haven't laid their fiber up here. And then Spectrum wanted me to pay like $1,000 to get a little bit. But it's cable. That's the problem, Alex. Cable means that when you get more people on, it slows down. Fiber's the only way to go, but you know, even though most of my friends in Europe, you know, most of my friends in Europe have had fiber for like 10 years, and we're finally trying to get it here in Los Angeles. It's pretty bad. Anyway, yeah, no, they are Jean-Francois. I pay $300 without taxes to get this slow internet. You know, yeah, always slow in LA, very frustrating. Yeah, it's very hard. Anyway, Argentinian internet is worse. It's hard to believe that. Hard to believe. Thank you very much. Net neutrality. Oh, let's not even go there. The UK is okay for music at the moment. However, it's better in certain areas than others. Underground stuff is interesting. Live music is worth finding. But here, Nashville is the place to be right now. I mean, I think Nashville is the place to be for fun. I mean, I believe it's $300 before taxes, so it comes in a lot more than that. So I cannot at all recommend Spectrum, Time Warner. They have been horrible with us, horrible, and they have said in the fine print. They said in the fine print, because it slows down to like 20, even though it's supposed to be 300, 100, 100, 300. They said in the fine print that, oh no, if you read the fine print, it says that we can't guarantee that you're actually going to get the speed that you paid for. For real, for absolute real. And then every time the guy quotes me, he quotes me a different price. It goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. Sometimes we're only 10 feet from the pole. Other times it's going to be a really long way, and it's $12,000 commitments. You're going to have to sign up for 3 years. It is freaking hilarious. See, look, somebody in Russia's paying $20 for 500 megabytes. Yeah, there you go. 10 euros for in Finland. Anyway, yeah, people are saying they're having problems with Spectrum over in there. Yeah, everybody in Europe has got a much better time of it. But anyway, I love America. We're in America. Let's be positive. Okay, so Alex was asking about my vocal chain. Well, it depends on the mic I use. Sometimes it's a U47, which is not cheap. Not cheap at all, but great. Wonderful microphone. Sometimes I have a U48 I use. We use that one for Adele was the U48. I also have a Lewitt LCT 940, which goes between tube and FET. The reason why I like that mic is on tube, it's a wonderful lead vocal mic. It's got the low end, the low mids, the warmth that you expect from a tube microphone, but it also has a really high extended high end. So it's a little bit more sparkly on the top than a vintage microphone. But what I like about it is I'll use it on full tube for lead vocal, and then I'll flip to FET for background vocals. And I like the 640 a lot. I use it all the time. And it just sounds different enough that they sit around each other. Somebody's saying that Spectrum increased your speed. Yeah, I mean, but what's funny, of course, is that you don't actually get it. That's just like the 1 in a million time when there's nobody online that gets that speed. So funny. Somebody's talking about the TLM 103. We talked about that last time, Roy, about how there was a couple of people hating on the 103, but I was using examples of some of my favorite artists I've worked with who record all their vocals on 103s. And one of them was, of course, Jamie Hartman uses the cheaper Neumanns. And Jamie, he wrote Rag and Bone Man's big hit, Human. So, it's getting back to that sort of age-old discussion. Somebody's asking about U47 clone. We'll get into that. That age-old discussion between do you need an expensive mic? I think you need a good microphone. People are asking about the UM70 Gefell. Love it. All right, so back to the vocal chain. So those are the different vocal mics I use. And sometimes I'll try other things as well. Somebody's saying they bought the J37. That's fantastic plugin. But with my mic pre compressor, my traditional setup was a 1073. And I used a BAE one because it sounded just like the Neve to me, but was brand new, so it didn't have buzzers and clicks and all the other things associated with vintage equipment. Because that's sometimes the balance is we love the idea of vintage equipment, but unfortunately it can have all kinds of problems. So I used my main chain is a 1073, and then that goes into a DBX 160, and then the 160 goes into the 1176. And the 1176 is, I think the most versatile compressor that I have. So I've always loved that. So when we designed that 1173, it's basically a 1073 mic pre going into an 1176 compressor. And if Eric was here, he would be putting that underneath. Can you see if he's here? He would be putting that underneath, we very specifically asked him to be here at 11, but I think that, it's a tough life. He's not here? No? No, Eric? He's not here. Hello in Ecuador. So that's my DBX for Brickwall? No, not at all. The VCAs in a DBX 160 are the same VCAs that are in an SSL console. So if they're only Brickwall limiting, God, can you imagine what that would be like on all of the dynamics here? It's the same VCAs. I have them over there. I believe that they're the 202s. Not that I'm a gear nut, but basically, they're definitely not. I wouldn't use them for brick walling. The 1176, I think, is a better limiter than a DBX will ever be. No, Eric. No, Eric. Eric is not gracing us with his presence. LA traffic? Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I think 11 a.m. is a pretty okay start time. It's not like we're starting at 8 a.m. Daniel asked me this before. What singer was a surprise to work with? I think James Blunt was one of the biggest surprises. I've talked about this before. Oh, and by the way, would you all... who's Eric? He is our engineer. He's been working with me for 3 or 4 years now, and we tease him, but he's fantastic. Yeah, people are saying 11 a.m. is a pretty easy start time. Yeah, we know. Yeah, SC2200 is great. Like and share, yes. So please like and share. I see there's 353 people on. Could you do me a favor? Can I get 353 likes? Yeah, and please share it on any social media. The way that YouTube works is it likes to see that there's people liking and sharing, and then they tell more people. And basically, the more people are online, the longer we stay online, and the more talking we do and everything. So as long as it keeps growing and growing and growing, we keep going. So please like and share. Vocal chain again is 1073 DBX 160 VU into an 1176. If I had to do a simple thing, it would always be a 1073 or a 312. I do like 312s, and the 1176 is a key component for me. I feel like the 1176 is the most versatile compressor. To me, it's the most versatile compressor ever made until the invention of the distressor. I feel like the distressor is a game changer. It really is. Now, going back to the question, the most surprising singer I've worked with is definitely is definitely 100% has to be the James Blunt. When I worked with James Blunt, I was sitting in a studio. I was in Capitol, and I believe, memory serves me well, he was in Abbey Road. And we were doing an ISDN line. Paul says Eric's getting a haircut. No, I think he's just styling it. You know, took a little extra. So, hey, Liam, would you open up this YouTube link?
Yeah.
And would you go and would you find ask Matt and Eric to send you the 1173 Vintage King link, our link?
Yeah.
And put it in the description below. Okay, great. So we have Liam, who actually got here at, look, there's Liam. He actually got here at 10:45. So he gets the brownie points.
Good to hear.
So James Blunt was definitely not drunk. So James Blunt was sitting in the studio in England, and we were doing ISDN. So I was talking with him. So it was an interesting experience. Can you imagine? I'm here like this, you know, but in Capitol, and I'm using the talk back, and it's being fed to him. There was a nanosecond of delay because obviously it's a satellite feed, but it was pretty darn good. And he was one of the most engaging, honest, and easy to work with singers. It was really, really fantastic. And I really enjoyed it because he just took every idea and ran with it. And it was really, really, really good. So, and the other thing is he's kind of a badass, you know? You know, he was an officer in the British Army and was in Kosovo and all this kind of stuff. And he was very respectful. But what was interesting, when you do that and you're doing an ISDN recording, now bear in mind, all of the files, we were recording back into our session, but I did get all of the matching files from the engineer in England sent to me. I think that way, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have the quality of going through a satellite feed. I'm sure it's better now. You know, I'm sure it's better now, but, you know, and but I still wouldn't want to do that. It's just not the best way of doing. So they sent me the files, I pulled them into the session, and I matched up what I liked from there. Now he's standing at the door. Yay, 11:40! Woo! Everybody, the don't be late bit didn't stick with him in his brain. You're live.
Don't be late, guys.
So can you help him out? Because we want to post the 1173 VK link and other stuff. So there you go. Did you shout me out? Hi, Bryce. Bryce Connor, you're shouted out. Have you ever done a record exclusively with drum samples instead of a real drummer? Golf clap. What's the golf clap? The little tiny one? What's the golf clap? You're a golfer. What's the golf clap? Isn't it just kind of like, but it's super quiet.
Yeah, you have to be well behaved. Good etiquette.
Yes, a golf clap. Hi, Eric. Thank you for joining us. Oh, everybody's going yes. Alex says it called out. Yeah, you were called out. On the 1173, can you use the compressor separate from the pre? No, but you will be able to on later revisions. I just looked on the back of my one. See how I am? No experts here. Hey guys, will you get me my acoustic guitar out that we've got packed away? So I want to be able to use that. So make him wrap a bunch of cables for being late. Oh, he wouldn't want to lower himself to wrapping cables. No, I'm just teasing.
Plenty to wrap.
Plenty to wrap. What reamp box do you use? The radial one is pretty much the standard reamp box. We also have this, which is the analog process one, which people ask me about and I have not yet seen anywhere else. I don't know if they made a one-off, but it's analog process. Please, can you like and share? Yeah, the radial's really good. What's my favorite? Stratcat says hates right. Yeah. Last time I hinted on a monitor advice, but it's not out yet. I'm about to buy Yamaha HS7s. These are going to be $300 monitors. HS7s are definitely like the step up, and I thank you, Charles Stream. So I definitely would say go with the HS7s. Somebody says Yamaha sucks. No, they don't. I just don't agree with that. Some of the biggest mixers I know love them. They're very, very affordable. I think it all just comes down to your rooms. You know, I think value for money. We went to when we did the masterclass here in Los Angeles. We took a day trip, 6 of us. We took 6 of us went down to Vintage King, and we did a shootout listening to tracks that we all knew and loved, and we all loved the way that the Yamahas sounded for the money. There didn't seem to be anything close to it. James says Rick is live. Okay, we've got some bad language. So, bye. Sorry. If you're going to start, like, effing and blinding and swearing, you're going to go. Sorry, this is just not what we're about. Anyway, so bye-bye, Mr. or Mrs. Swearing. We can all have opinions. You know, nothing sucks. If it sucks, it has to be... if it sucks, you know what I mean? One person's wonderful is another person's absolutely terrible. You know, it's just the way life is. Yes, exactly. As Herman says, it's very subjective. But I do think that yeah, exactly. And we don't need, nobody needs to F and blind. It's like, you know, it's just the way it is. We have a couple of people that like to, yeah, Tammy says bad work when blame their tools. I think also another thing that's really, really important is everybody's rooms. So people say to me, oh, I had the Genelecs that you have, Warren. Somebody said that to me a couple of years ago, but they sounded like crap. And I'm like, no, they don't. Is that our link? Okay. And I was like, but it's quite possible in their room, the way that their room was, is that it did sound bad. It could be, yeah, look, somebody's saying, yeah, I have a huge note in my room, so it's awful. The last one was fine. Exactly. So let's just say the Genelecs have a really good low end compared with the pair of NS10s. So let's just say, go back 15 or 20 years when I started using NS10s and Genelecs together. About 20 years ago, they were very, very common practice to go into LA studios, and still somewhat. And there was a pair of Genelecs and a pair of NS10s. Almost every studio in Los Angeles had that configuration. Now, imagine you wanted to replicate that, and you built a home studio, and you got yourself a pair of Genelecs, and you got yourself a pair of NS10s. Now, if your room is big and boomy, you're going to be like, my NS10s sound great in my room. Why? Because the NS10s without the low end suddenly have a bit more low end. You're like, wow, my NS10s sound really good in my room. Problem is, your Genelecs, which have a better bottom end, oh, I don't like my Genelecs because they sound too boomy. Well, what's the reality? The truth is your room needs some treatment. There's a lot of things that can do that. Herman's saying, do I use subwoofers? Not anymore. Initially, when I first built this room, I had a big, exactly. I know my room, as Baz says. I initially had it, and then I found out I was turning them off all the time, and then it was gone. You know, so best place to listen to your mix are car speakers. Yeah, I think car speakers, if you spend a lot of time in your car, is really a great way of going. Best way to get punchy guitars. I think with classic SSLs, the way that we used to do it was to EQ into compression, and it gives you that pa, you know, when you hit that pa. You know what I mean? It's that pa, that spankiness. That's what I always call it, spankiness. And I think that maybe try that. Maybe boost some of the low mids that you're trying to get through. Boost some of the high 3 to 5K if it's not metal, you want to go there. If it's metal, you go 7, 8, 9, 10 for the high end. That gives you that sort of metal sound. But if it's just like straight ahead rock and roll, it's usually 3 to 5K is where you tend to boost up. And you're going down to about 150, 200 for the lows, low mids on the guitars. That's pretty typical. So if you boosted those kind of areas like this, then boost them a lot, like really aggressively, and then push them into compression. You'll get that pa every time it plays. You'll get that little spankiness to it. And you want to play with the attack and release times. If you get a short attack, but you brought your threshold down quite considerably, you'll get this pa pa pa. You'll get this initial hit of the transient. So mess with it, mess with your attack and release times. You know, in a faster release time, you'll get it. So you just get that kind of spanky kind of sound. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Today I was doing Feedback Friday. You know, I was doing Feedback Friday, and we were talking about, for instance, ambience, drum ambience, and somebody's mix, I'm blanking on who it was, had nailed the decay time on a snare. So another thing that not a lot of people talk about is they go, well, what reverb should I use on drums? It's like the one that's right. If you want to be like, dum, dum, ga, dum, 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 ga, you might want that dum, dum, ka, dum, ka. You want to get that decay time so it works perfectly with your drums. So it fills up the space that you need it to. It's not just about, because otherwise you can have that, and it just builds up and it continues to reverberate. And before you know it, you just got a wash of reverb. And yes, it might make your drums sound like they're in this cavernous thing, but it also might make them sound like they just completely disappear. Now that Eric's here, he's like posting that link every 5 seconds. Have I left drums dry? All the time. Yeah, it depends on the mix and what I'm trying to go for, production-wise. Yeah, somewhat. Somebody's saying that remove the reverb from the next beast. Yes, I do like to boost and compress because I think that gives me more aggressiveness. Christian, oh, well, I film it on Thursday so that we can edit it and have it up for Friday morning. It comes out on Fridays. Compression tip for overheads. Two things that I like a lot of is I like the Beatles overhead compression. With the Fairchild, which they often used, or at least the RS, you know, was it the 124, 127, I think it's called. The initial hit would come down, the needle would go, whoosh, and then it would stay there. So you lose like initial pa pa pa, that kss, kss, kss. It just kind of, so the cymbals have that. I love that just wash. Yeah, pick up a Fairchild at Walmart, exactly. But there's plenty of Fairchild emulations that sound good. Honestly, I don't think the Bomb Factory one is that bad, and it's free sometimes. You know, Stranger Thing you had to record. The Strangest Thing? I don't know about strangest, but some of the most fun things I've had to record. I don't know about the strangest, but some of the most fun things. When I did, what was the name of the song? It was the phrase song. Oh, You Found Me, you know, lost and insecure. You found me, lying out there. It had this guitar, had this really, really super fast guitar part that was going along. You know, and it was just like super, super fast, and it washed over the whole thing, and we wanted it to be absolutely massive. So we took a little deluxe 65. We took this deluxe 65. Sorry, cut out for a second. We took this deluxe 65 and we put it in a small playing. The great vocals captured really, really well. You know. So it's really fantastic, you know. Clean power and surge protection. Yeah, definitely use that. You know, it was really, really, really great stuff. It was a lot of fun to watch. I think that is definitely worth watching. I like the way he breaks down the guitars and shows you the pedals and stuff he's using. Oh, not having the Main Steer House grounded is a big deal, Alex. That's pretty horrific. How do you back up your sessions? Okay, so what I do is I use Synchronizer Pro X. Yes, so power's balanced. And the Synchronizer Pro X basically looks at 2 drives and they're synced together. And they look at each drive and say, okay, there's stuff on this and there's stuff on that. And then they just say, look at what the difference is. And go, there's something missing from this drive, there's something missing from that drive, and they make sure the backups are identical. Why is that a good idea? Well, it's a good idea. It's made by Qdea, Q-D-E-A, Qdea. So what it is just say I've recorded some bass and drums or whatever, and overdubs, and I want Eric to like edit something like, hey, I like the drum fill from this or whatever it is, or tighten that up. I give him the drive, he goes off and works on it. I can continue tracking on even on the same song, and then it looks at both of the drives and says, okay, there's new audio printed on this drive, going to dump it over there. It says there's a new session file on this one with edits, and dump it back on there. That is the best way to back up. It is basically using synchronizing, syncing the drives so that nothing is missing off each one. I never delete off the drives. I just make sure that there's something that's both on it. Will you let Karsha know that we got another hour? She's texting me. So how are you? I want to know how your sessions are organized by you. Is there a particular way? And please throw some light on the labeling of tracks. Love your channel. Thank you. It's difficult. When I'm on my own, it's insanely anal. Like, if you open up any of my sessions when it was just me on my own, it's crazy. You go back to some of my old sessions, everything's consolidated, everything's named literally. I like to name things literally because I've been doing this my whole life, and I know that if somebody who's not you opens up your session and it's called guitar, it's of absolutely no use. When it's me on my own, I'm like lead guitar in bridge. You know, so it'd be like, might be LD GTR bridge. Then it will be like LD GTR bridge double, DBLE. So anybody knows what it is. So if you're on your own working, take the opportunity to be really, really organized. I have learned, unfortunately, that the more people you have working on it, that's a very strange thing. I'm not American, by the way, I'm English. British, you know. Anyway, so, yeah, exactly. So basically, yeah, who wants to talk politics on a music channel? Really? I don't, you can, you know what I mean? So let's not talk politics. Anyway, so what we're getting back to, sorry, blah, 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 blah. Where was I? Where's my train of thing? I don't know about British being the best. I'm just who I am. My Instagram is just my name, Warren Hewitt. Music politics of music. Anyway, what was I talking about? I got lost in the train of thought with somebody's bad politics questions. Eric? After backing up. All right. Anyway, ever recorded any Indian instruments? Yes. Go and check out the Trevor Hall's 2 albums that I did with him. When I was session tracking and naming. Thank you very much. I'll go back to that in a second. Yeah, go back and check that out. I did Kala and Chapter of the Forest, and there was tons of Indian instruments on that, so you can have a listen. Yeah, I can't leave my guitars alone. And the other thing is, I was talking to my friend Bob Marlette, and him and John Five are good friends. And he basically said to me that we're very similar guys, that we don't ever have a conversation without a guitar in our hands. Recording tablet can be a challenge. Yeah, I think I just stereo mic'd it. Good USB interface. I suffer from hum from the PC. That could be a grounding issue. Marilyn Manson does some great music. Exactly. ADHD, we've all got a little bit of it when we're working in music. Okay, so naming of tracks. Yes, just be really literal. Obviously, you can't write like a novel. You can't write a novel, but, it's one of those things. I'm getting texted frantically from somebody. I'm on a live stream. Okay, yeah, I'm getting texted. We were supposed to go to the Jet Propulsion Lab today to check it out. And Steve Cara, who's a great guy, who works over there, is saying, give us a call, please, soon. So hopefully we're still going. Do I recommend microphone shields for middle-sized rooms? I think start by dampening behind where the microphone is facing. Start by where the microphone is facing, that way, and dampen behind. And then if you have to put a shield around the front because there's too much reverberation maybe in the room, you really have to listen first, But remember, the mic is facing this way towards you, so most of the room tone you're going to get normally is going to be behind you. When you see in professional studios, they build vocal booths like this, so the singer sings out and you can see them, but all the dampening behind kills it pretty dead. Have I written any manuals on recording? No, but I'm going to. Yes, sing into a bunch of clothes in a sliding door closet. Yes, there's all kinds of things you can do. Unless you're using a figure of 8 pattern. Yeah, if you're using a figure of 8 pattern, then ultimately you are going to get room from the other side. What we did when we were using ribbon mics on drum rooms on an Aerosmith record, because we were in a big room. Okay. They're saying for me to get to the Jet Propulsion Lab, I have to get my green card information. Can you get that from Kasia and have it emailed to Steve? Okay, let's do it on email, please. Hey everybody, you see what's going on? I'm on a live stream and we are having this conversation to a lot of people. Okay. There you go. That's real life for you. Anyway, there you go. So do I have any connection to the CCM Steam? I don't know what that is, so I don't know if I can ask this. Okay. Gating can help. Smash that like button. Oh, yes, thank you. Please like and share for all of the people on there. That would be absolutely fantastic. I don't know where Glenn Fricker is. He's probably working on something, How dare he work on something? I haven't used Ardor, but I would like to. Thoughts on recording and mixing your own vocals? Please make recording and tracking modular ASP module. I've done tons of them. Yes, please like and share, everybody. Contemporary Christian music. Yeah, I've done tons of it. Tons and tons and tons of it. I just, I didn't even think of that's what you meant. Yeah, there isn't really, hello in Bolivia. I don't really have a genre that I don't do. I don't know if I've done like full-blown Icelandic death metal, But we have a lot of genres like EDM and metal, which are very like cram as much sound in as possible. Like Chronix, who was on the other day, sent me this drum mix and to talk about the drum sound. And the problem was it was like supernatural sound to say, here's a supernatural sound, but all of the guitars and there was no bass and they were this loud. The thing is, when you get to a lot of those genres, I have friends that work very successfully in those genres. As soon as you bring those massive guitars up, that's when they start looking at heavily EQing and compressing and paralleling and doing insane amounts of things to keep those drums still like, you know, cutting through. There's a lot to be said. It's like there's no one size fits all. So it's very, you know, whether you're talking about whatever genre you're talking about, there's a lot of different things. My favorite limiter maximizer plugin, honestly, I use the L2 a lot. I really do like the L2. You know, I see people kind of hating on it, but I don't really know why, because most of my friends and people that you know that make records that you listen to on the radio use the L2. It's just the truth. And yet, I read people telling me they can tell when it's on a U2. Oh, you've used an L2. It's like, okay. Biggest reggae artist I've worked with. I don't know if I've worked with anybody super huge. I co-own a studio. I love Doctor Who. I have to answer this question. I love Doctor Who. That's why when people ask how old I am, I always say 975. Only Doctor Who fans know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he's a Time Lord. So getting back, biggest reggae artist. So we used to do a lot of rehearsal stuff, and we had everybody come through. Everybody. So I've been in the room with some of the biggest artists of all time, but I personally haven't recorded the. Yes, there's a Time Lord now. She is now a Doctor Who. Yep, exactly. Who's my favorite Doctor Who? Well, I'm old. Tom Baker was the one I grew up with, so I loved Tom Baker. But I also loved, I really like Matt Smith. And he was the most English one they've ever had. And I really liked him. But Tom Baker's amazing. It's hard because the newer Doctor Who's, all of them have been absolutely fantastic. They've all been really, really good. I feel like when the second season came in, the new season came in, it was pretty amazing, you know. You met Tom Baker, that's amazing. Yeah, growing up, Tom Baker was the one. What tube valve mic, preferably for tracking vocals? I mean, I'm a big fan of the LCT 940. It's the Lewitt. Yeah. Ultimately, is it